and we need to talk. But don't worry, it's not like one of those kind of we need to talk. Rachel and I aren't breaking up with you. We just need to talk about whatever. Nothing in particular. Um, my earlier live stream was a bit of a unfulfilling live stream. Let's put it that way.
No.
Given all the nonsense that happens during the stream, all the trolls
No.
and the legitimate sad stuff or whatever, and ill-advised political advocacies. It was just after a minute, hour and 22 minutes, I just had to say, enough, enough. You know what else I have to say? Enough is enough for today was my bottle of meth gas. It ran out, so I'm gonna get another. I'm gonna get a can of propane for my torch here. We'll be right back. Rachel will entertain you by chewing in the meantime.
I'm chewing some really good bread. It's rosemary and olive oil. It's yummy.
The crazy thing is all the stuff this house came with, including extra propane cans.
Wow.
So, anyway, we're here, we're queer, we don't want any more bears. And what we do want is ideally a pleasant live stream rather than an unpleasant one. But we'll take what we can get. Oh no, it's all rusty.
Oh no.
That's fine. That's just a little bit dirty.
Will the rust come out of your pants?
Yeah, I just gotta wash it off like that. That's how you get it off.
Oh, that's how you get it off?
So, after that failed attempt to live stream, and given that I'm a little underslept overall, and that took me a while to get around to eating today, given all those factors, I was feeling a little, yeah. Got into bed with Rachel and I was like, maybe we'll take a little nap before we could do our things, but I couldn't. I was tossing and turning a little bit, so I said, why don't we just get up and do it now? And at that point, Rachel was like, yeah, let's just get this out of the way. So we went into town, we got her medication, we got supermarket chicken, we got cat food, and came back home. Whereupon I ate more food. I ate supermarket chicken, and then took a couple Tylenols, have a clowny, a couple gabapentins. Feel better. Feel a little bit better anyway. I was feeling almost like not physically very well earlier. So maybe my immune system was like, you gotta give me either sleep or food or something. You can't just give me nothing here. So now I feel considerably more human, having accomplished all those various feats. And also feeling rather like it was a productive day. We ordered flowers for Rachel's grandmother's funeral, which is kind of important because Rachel's mom, she, I think, really wanted Rachel to be there, but it was just too quick of a turnaround for us. It's like she dies on Thursday or Wednesday night or something, and then the funeral's already this Sunday. Well, this kind of like buy it today, fly tomorrow tickets are super expensive, and we would have made it happen if it were like the next weekend after, but it just wasn't really feasible, and for a lot of different reasons for us to just make a trip to New York happen like bam today, you know.
And if we had a little bit more time to plan, it wouldn't have been so rushed. Like we could have made a trip out of it or whatever. But as it was,
even to just buy the plane tickets, we would have had to get a wire transfer from the trust because we don't necessarily have a shit ton of money in our checking accounts at any given moment, you know.
No.
And whether or not that would have cleared in time would be very much up in the air. It just didn't seem like on balance worth it to me. But whatever, if Rachel had expressed a very strong desire to go, or even just a clear desire to go, I would have said, well, let's make it happen one way or another. But she didn't really want to go because I think she felt, as a lot of people would in this kind of a context, that she wasn't mentally prepared, right? Like, that's how I felt too. I just wasn't mentally prepared to make all that shit happen that quickly.
No, I know. I would have used all my adrenaline to be FE, but also SE a lot, and that's not really my strong suit. So it would have been rushed. The whole thing would have been rushed. I would have been rushing to the airport. I would have been rushing to get ready. I would have been rushing to make plans for where I was staying.
Well, and we were talking about maybe Richard going by herself to save money because, you're looking at $5,000 to take us both to New York and for a couple of nights and back, probably at the last minute, you know. So, and the other thing is because we have our sensing functions 4 and 8. Rachel and I aren't really. We don't find the experience of a ceremony that significant necessarily. My memories, etc., of my parents are best served when they're not memories of their funeral.
That's true.
Nor any time near the very end, really. My mom was a cool lady before not that she wasn't cool when she had Alzheimer's, but, she wasn't my mom anymore, really.
No.
But she was a nice, cool lady back in the day, and thinking about her funeral just makes me think about how fucked up the end was,
Yeah.
But maybe it should come as no particularly huge surprise to anybody that thoughts are a little on the dark side today, because perhaps we're almost tapped out on this bottle of Adderall, and after you've been at it for a week, then you just get diminishing returns, and you start feeling kind of like tore up emotionally, tore up spiritually, tore up in all the different ways.
Yeah. It's another thing too, like,
if she had died a week earlier, we probably would have had plenty of energy to make it happen.
Yeah. I just don't like rushing. I know myself very well. Like I would have forgotten something, or I would have been very anxious at the airport, and then I. But like also, I was thinking about you know how they usually have like a dinner after the funeral and stuff, and like I know my family's gonna do a lot of drinking, and like
Well, that can be a fun time when you're not drinking. Everybody else is loosened up. They probably need it.
that's
I
true.
don't need alcohol to be loose. Alcohol makes me sloppy.
Yeah, but I would have wanted to be like, okay, so like you guys are gonna be, I'm gonna walk outside and smoke a joint now. Like they'll be doing that too. I know my Uncle Paul and cousins will probably be, but
Thanks, KP.
hey KP.
And thanks also for banning that person this morning.
Oh, good wrench doing.
Yeah. You exercised a just and righteous hammer.
Oh, Ruben, are you giving us the silent treatment?
Well, I've never been opposed to the silent treatment as long as you're taking notes.
Oh my gosh, it's true.
I know I promoted these at least one time before, but I
Yeah.
recommend these lime rickies.
Yeah, lime Ricky's so good, so good. It's like,
It's really delicious.
yeah, it's soda. Or just,
It's lime and cherry.
I know, but it's fizzy,
Yeah,
so it's carbonated.
carbonated water, lime, and cherry.
That's good.
But I was thinking earlier, I always want to call these mint juleps.
Oh.
I was thinking how that might be the opposite of what Rachel does. So it's like if Rachel were to call a lime Ricky by another name, she might call it like a green Richard.
Yeah.
So the two words would mean kind of the same thing, right? For me, I always want to call it a mint julep because mint julep is a drink that has a green thing in it, and the green thing's name is first. Like,
Oh, like lime Ricky.
yeah, mint julep,
Julep.
lime Ricky. So that's like the SI version of the other way of doing it, which is thinking NPC is an undercover person, as opposed to saying like what is it again like NPD because you get it confused with narcissistic personality disorder
Yeah.
because they sound the same kind of.
Mm-hmm.
That would be an SI kind of. That's just a hypothesis I was positing about. Yeah, I'm gonna pass on that, Ruben. Ruben wouldn't have actually done it, even if I had. He worded it such that there is no way I was gonna possibly do it. Ruben's Ruben's always putting on an FE clinic. So, for anyone who wants to learn about how to FE things, it's just the right amount of meow. See, it's harder to do in text, especially without emojis. And that whole block of text there had no emojis. Of course, there's always the challenge, right? Like, let's say you mean something tongue in cheek, quote unquote. Should you put like a winky? Because there are plenty of people, including myself, who if they see that winky, you're gonna be like, What do you think? I'm an idiot? I know you're being sarcastic. So, in that regard, a Winkie's always a toss up proposition. Is it a good idea to put a Winkie after something sarcastic? Or is the person just going to think you think they're dumb? It's a tough question to answer. But you know, if the world were full of only easy questions to answer, I'd have nothing to do. I still don't have anything to do, but that's not the point. I have plenty of things I could do. Like, I could clean this filthy table. In theory. But, and I will at some point, you know. Not anytime soon, probably, but maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, sometime within that frame of reference, probably. That general time frame, I mean, is probably within the next week I'll clean the table. Almost for sure. I frequently clean it a little bit. Like I'll pick up the dishes from it and put it in the sink. The problem is, like this part here, this can't stay clean. It's not possible for that to stay clean because it's where I tap out bowls on and stuff, you know. So it's always gonna look like this. Oh, gross. And I got this rubbing alcohol to wipe the lip part of this because when it starts getting bone resin on it, then it gets on your lips and it tastes super gross because you get this awful bone resin taste on your lips. I have it right now, so I know what I'm talking about. Rachel did a fabulous job of rebraiding Tiffany's hair yesterday.
Thank you.
Really pleased with the results. Thank you. Ja, thank you, lady. Such a better job than this horrible stuff with your mind. Justice. The scales of justice say, Jeremiah Fix, I'm generally not in the habit of giving people wrenches. Sometimes I do, and I always regret it because every time I do, then someone else says, well, why don't you give him a wrench? What happens, the reason people get wrenches ever, really, is because there's shit going down and nobody who has a wrench is there besides me. And I go, okay, Carmen's Pound, Acacia, could you be our moderator? Because nobody here is no moderator here. And then Acacia's the moderator. Like that kind of scenario. You'll note that you cannot get coupled into moderator status. Ruben's a moderator, but Acacia is not. The only person who can get coupled into moderator status was Rachel. All moderator designations must naturally occur. That was a good bone rip. That was a good bone rip.
Oh, good.
You know, like, you get used to not really having that many bone rips. But, good bone rips, I mean. But, I haven't really pulled very many today. Just a couple a long time ago, so.
Yeah.
That helps. I have this.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I was gonna say that I sometimes collect liquids or drinks, I should say.
No, my point, Jeremiah Fix, is that there has to be some naturally occurring reason for me to give somebody a wrench. And it just hasn't happened with Acacia. It's not because she's not deserving. It's not because you're not deserving. It's because that's not how wrenches fall from the heavens.
Actually, it takes kind of a lot of convincing. Usually, someone has to have like a specific thing, like specific link that they're talking about, and it's like, okay, I'll give you a wrench.
Yeah, that's the best way to get a wrench is to ask me to give you a wrench temporarily to put a link and then they wait for me to forget.
Yeah.
but but usually if I initiate a wrench giving, it's because there are no moderators here and there's something that needs moderation. But there are people here that I trust that I haven't made moderator yet. Free Palestine? Well, I agree that Palestine should be its own country again. Nothing good ever happens from forcing your imperialism onto people,
No.
you know? Um, who were politely threatening one another? Ruben and Karma's pen? No, I saw that. I read it already. I don't care. They can't do anything to each other anyway. Um, it would be nice if Israel would just like be cool, you know, but I don't see that happening. They got a lot of religious fanaticism in Israel too, you know.
Yeah,
It's not just on the Muslim side of the fence. So religion when it mixes with politics is bad. It's the very definition of a dumpster fire.
Dumpster fire is a good example of that.
The Holy Land, aka that big dumpster fire over there.
Uh-huh.
You know, how long has this shit been going on? When I was doing debate in high school, there was,
Wow.
it was like, it was it was a topic even then. You know, it was like they had that war for the, what do they call it, the 8 Days War or something like that back in the 70s. And
I don't remember.
it's been going on forever. Maybe when the Palestinians were first displaced from their homes, maybe there was an initial short number of years of sort of like shock in which they tried to deal with things peaceably. But ever since that initial honeymoon phase or whatever, it's just been nonstop pew pew pewing. I mean, with breaks periodically for a year or two here or there, you know. Myriad. Who can even count the number of attempted brokered peace deals by, brokered by the U.S. or whatever? Well, I mean, I'm not so interested in blaming. I'm saying, in order for nonsense to stop, Israel needs to let Palestine be its own country. It's in everyone's best interest. And that includes the hawkish side of the Israeli politic. So it just needs to be positioned properly for them. The hawkish side of the Israeli politic can be sold on the two-state solution by telling them, look, you want Palestine to be its own country. Then when it attacks you, you can just bomb them to shit, right? Then it's another sovereign nation attacking you. And you don't have to play this middle ground game of, well, we rule over them, so we can't just slaughter them wholesale, but we hate them, so we're gonna give them like they treated them like apartheid. It's ridiculous, horrible. Obviously, regardless of blaming parts, the solution is a two-state solution, and that means Israel, instead of insisting that Hamas recognize their legitimacy first or some shit like that, they just say, fine, we don't want anything to do with you anymore. You're your own country. Now attack us at your peril because we hate you, we're mad, and we're nuclear armed. Granted, obviously Israel is not going to nuke Palestine when it's right next door to them. Oh, this is the same idiot from earlier. That's how they started earlier, too. Just hide them. The thing about the idiots is they lack any kind of creativity or like sense of intuition about what's gonna fool somebody or whatever. The point is, Jeremiah thinks if we are going to dispassionately evaluate things and seek a solution, then we're not going to be fixated on blaming. But we're also going to acknowledge that that Israel has a lot more power, and they have a heels dug in hawkish element that needs to be sold this actual solution on their terms. Hopefully, obviously, Israel doesn't actually take full advantage of their increased right to serious military power that's afforded should another sovereign country attack them. Because undoubtedly, should any attack occur after they made a two-state solution, it would be from extremist elements that the government of the sovereign state opposes because they want stability and not to be subject to responsive military force. I don't know. I mean, there's not a hierarchy there, right? Corporate corruption is bad, personal interests are neutral. Okay, well, men like God, unfortunately, there are way too many advantages that I'm seeing in very dramatic fashion to live streaming vertically over live streaming horizontally. YouTube recommends that they want people to switch to live streaming vertically. And for people who watch it on their phones, I guess it's better. I don't know. I never watch anything like this on my phone, really, so if I'm listening to something like this on my phone, then I'm listening to it 95% of the time, not watching it. If I'm watching it, I'll be watching it on the TV screen. I prefer landscape myself for the appearance of it, but um, yeah, I know. Things seem to be looking up. I mostly attribute it to the shorts. Uh, though I haven't actually looked at the analytics to see where the subs are coming from. But some of them are no doubt coming from live stream people. You know, it's like some people come in like Charles, and they're trying to. It's interesting analyzing what they're trying to do. Like when someone comes in on one occasion, pretends to be a real person, and says things like, "I subscribed," and then comes in the next time, pretends to be the same real person, but is trying to pretend like that having had some time around here, they've learned there's something terrible about it or whatever. When that doesn't work, they devolve into just insanity. So, um, what's interesting is how much that's a projection of what they think is important or how they operate, right? That that I must be hoping to get new subs and be happy with each one. Then, oh, I'll be sad when losing one, and that's going to do me some sort of harm. I'm not thinking about that at all. Yeah, stats are going up somewhat, but that's that's a little bit misleading because it's obviously it's easier to get views for shorts, but also like in terms of ad revenue, like call it probably 10 to 1. You know, I would I would expect that the long form video ad revenue is takes what requires 250 views for a long form video requires 2,500 views for a short. That's probably equivalent. You know, it's about a 10 to 1 ratio monetarily. So in that regard, even with 139,000 views, my actual amount of ad revenue has gone down. Last month I had over 100,000 again because of shorts, and it only had I only made 60 some dollars. So okay, well, I mean, personal interests for most people are corporate interests in some sense. You know, uh, either because they work for a corporation or because they own a corporation, they operate as an incorporated entity. For all of us, we live in incorporated towns and cities, except for us, we live in a county. But most people live in an incorporated city. People don't understand what incorporation is, as they think that there's concern about corporate interest. Now, it is the case that business things, large business interests matter, but that doesn't even have to be a corporation, technically. You don't have to run your business as a corporation. People who worry about corporate influence and stuff don't get it. A corporation is interested in one thing, making money, right? By and large, the government's relationship with corporations should be one thing, nothing. Stay out of their way. Let them do what they're trying to do, and if they succeed, they succeed, and if they don't, they don't, you know? People think corporations are bad because, mostly, from what I can tell, because of Monsanto and oil corporations. Oil corporations aren't bad, but British Petroleum fucked the environment so badly it's insane. And um, Exxon as well. The oil spills caused the oil corporations to really earn appropriately the public's ire because they should not have spilled oil all over the place. But you know, almost every single corporation you can think of, there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. The idea that corporations are bad is insane. We incorporate so that anytime we make a group that wants to act as a single entity, either financially or potentially in terms of like lawmaking and such, as per an incorporated city, that's the legal entity that represents any single group's capacity to operate as a legal entity with independent financial identity. You know? You mean like Blackwater? Yeah, obviously that was super evil. You know? Dick Cheney and George W. Bush were super evil. Dick Cheney is a horrible person, and Blackwater is a horrible idea, as are private prisons. Private military and private prison are horrible ideas, but that's not a problem with corporations. That's a problem with government abdicating its job to somebody else, right? Government obviously cannot abdicate its monopoly on use of force. That's what defines what it is, you know? Yeah, a lot of people are corporations. You know, it's a way of engaging with the world financially. The fact that some incorporated business interests are bad or have attained bad outcomes or something is not a reason to condemn incorporation. Certainly not a reason to condemn corporations. Every time I point this up, people go, well, you know what I mean, big corporations. Mm-hmm. There's no reason to condemn big corporations either. The reason they're successful is because we all keep buying their shit. The reason we keep buying it is because we like it and it's good. Why do Rachel and I keep buying peach rings? Is it because the corporations are brainwashing us to eat peach rings? Is it because of all the myriad peach ring advertisements we see on TV? No, it's because they're fucking delicious.
They are.
Mm-hmm. And who do we have to thank for that? The Trolley Peach Ring Company. Although theirs are not the best.
No, which ones do you think are the best?
I like the Werners. What are they called?
Oh.
Not Werners.
Wagners?
Yeah,
Wagners.
Wagners.
Yeah, those are good.
The Wagners are good. But I also like the brand that made the jelly, the
gummy bears.
Gummy bears.
Yes, the Albanese.
Yeah, that's a good brand.
They sold that at Vaughn's.
They might be the best brand.
I think so too.
I think they're the softest one. The Trolleys, you got to put in some serious chewing time to eat a trolley peach ring. Well, you've got good tasting candy, Acacia. The thing is, whatever your chocolate candy is, be it 100 grand, be it Baby Ruth, be it Snickers, whatever, it's better with some peach rings.
Yes, it is better.
You just combine them. You make a peach ring chocolate bar sandwich. And you too can enjoy the flavor of deliciousness in your mouth. You like black licorice? Okay, well, you have poor taste in candy, men like gods. I'm sorry. What are you, 108 years old? Buying black licorice at the 5 and dime? No, those diamond candy things are gross. Ring pops? No. The only thing is good about them is they're on a ring, and that's not good. That just
They're
gets your
so
hand all
messy to
sticky.
eat.
Yeah. Now, it's nobody's fault that we have convenience and comfort. It's not somebody's fault that Rachel and I can microwave a dinner. It's to somebody's credit that the microwave was invented. It's to somebody's credit that their corporation produces a microwave dinner at an affordable price that we like with one step
Yeah.
because we get what we want. We don't, you say it's just convenience or something. I say it's what we authentically and passionately want. Now, there's a lot more evidence to support what I'm saying than what you're saying. After all, if we didn't authentically and passionately want it, why would we continually purchase it? You know, it's important to me. No, it's to somebody's credit that the microwave was developed. The microwave is a great invention that makes everyone's life easier. Like, don't be a Luddite, you know. Don't be the person I'm teasing and agave weatherman. Respect advancement, civilization, technology, and reject savagery and romanticizing some primitive past in which shit was a way harder and more miserable. Well, I mean, here you are talking about how bad corporations are. How? On your device, chatting in my live stream on YouTube. You know, did you get a North Korean made phone/laptop that's only powered by the passion of the proletariat and their communist utopia? No. You bought it from Yang, from Yang Company. Why? Because you wanted it. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. You got what you wanted. Now you get to get scolded by me and learn something. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. Thanks, Google. Thanks, YouTube, you wonderful corporation. Thanks, Samsung. No, I'm not shifting ground. I'm making the same point over and over again in ever more delightful and colorful ways. Which is, you can't critique using nothing but means of expression afforded to you by capitalism and the powerful force that incorporation allows, entrepreneurs to become, should their idea prove desirable.
I just wish that corporations would be more open about like having sister companies and stuff, like being under an umbrella. You know what I mean? Like how like Gap is the same as Old Navy is the same as Banana Republic. Like I just wish that corporations would be more open about that sort of thing. That way, I don't know why.
Well, if look, Jeremiah Fix, if what you're saying is people should take seriously obvious conflicts of interest when they arise. Let's say I become president of the United States after leaving a job as CEO of ExxonMobil. I have a bunch of stock options, and I push heavily for Congress to pass legislation that would directly benefit ExxonMobil, etc., then yeah, that's an ethics problem, it's a conflict of interest. But what you seem to be thinking somehow is that a person can have a conflict of interest that's not specific like that, right? They can just sort of favor corporations. which is ridiculous because every corporation has its own set of interests and various regulatory realities that would either help or hurt them. You know, sure, when you're lobbying for legislation that gives you some sort of unfair advantage in the marketplace, that's terrible, and we should oppose those things, of course. Um, but at the same time, uh, we have to acknowledge that the the role of the say congressman or senator is to do what they think is best for their constituency. Let's just say the congressman. And the congressman's constituency may be well served by improving the interests of this corporation that hires and employs a lot of people in their district. So you cannot be a nuanced, real thinker and disconnect the average American from corporations.
No. I'm so surprised that it's November 5th because they I thought would have it around Halloween usually because the children go back to are trick or treating and it gets dark. I guess that's not true.
I mean, by and large, Jeremiah thinks the idea of measuring outcomes as either beneficial or harmful is a bit of an illusion, right? It's always you can only understand benefits and harms through a subjective frame of reference. So, beneficial to whom, harmful to whom. So that's why it's always important to ignore questions of impacts until after questions of legitimacy have been answered. There's an order of operations here, an order of questions. And problems don't arise from looking at impacts so much as they arise from looking at impacts without first looking at legitimacy. Impacts don't matter if there's not legitimacy, and they don't matter they do matter if there is. If there is legitimacy, then you have to say, okay, well, we have to do some predictive impact calculi here to evaluate now that we know we can do it, it's legitimate. We need to evaluate whether it's prescriptively wise. Those can be tough questions because, like I said, measuring impacts requires us to look through multiple frames of reference, like, well, beneficial to which parties, harmful to which parties, in different ways, how each of these various groups or parties. Um, and there's an implicit problem with, like, say, low density population centers, areas, say Mariposa or Eastern Sierra, and there's those Sierras, Mammoth and stuff, and high density population areas like Los Angeles. In California, that um, that disconnect or strife is caused by water. The low density agricultural areas want the water for agriculture. The low density mountain areas want the water for recreational purposes, like, or just to preserve the environment or whatever. Like Mono Lake in Mammoth. Mammoth was, those counties up there would get mad because LA would take so much of the water out of it. Generally, like the whole Sierra snowpack, just goes to LA, Bay Area, and a little bit to the farmers and stuff. So you're always going to have those kind of conflicts that arise over low density, high density population disagreements. But The United States was intelligently structured to empower the low density places at the expense of the high density places because you really need the interests of both to be represented. That's what the Senate does, you know. And then populists will always be like, that's wrong because that only helps a few people instead of a lot of people. Well, helping preserve low density areas helps everyone because it for the same reason, or for similar reasons, but more nuanced, more rippling outwards reasons uh, than why it's good to preserve national forests and stuff. It's good to preserve national forests and stuff because you don't want to be China. You don't want to just be this cesspool of pollution and shit like that. I gotta get a lighter. Right. Well, I mean, the other thing is the problem with using an impact calculus is it turns the whole thing into the wrong kind of adversarial process. So you got one side who's advocating in favor of a given thing, who is trying to pile up all the possible good impacts of the thing they can think of. The other side trying to pile up all the bad possible impacts of the thing they can think of. And what you get in accordingly is no serious impact calculus because neither side is serious. They're just both trying to create as many impacts as possible. In contrast, if you're doing a legitimacy calculus, it's black and white. The the affirmation tries to defend the legitimacy of it. The negation tries to say it's illegitimate. And you know, the affirmation either successfully defends the legitimacy of it or doesn't. It's not. It's only one side bullshits. That's the key difference. Only one side bullshits. The wrong side bullshits. The other side's 100% correct. On legitimacy questions, only one side bullshits. When there are impact calculi, both sides bullshit because it's arbitrary. Whatever you can articulate and establish as a reasonable thing to predict as an impact from something can at least garner some weight in the overall calculus. It's like if you're me, you can think of infinite things. For both sides. So why bother playing that game? You have to. If you do the question of legitimacy first, then it's like if Congress had addressed the question of the legitimacy of an individual mandate before they addressed the question of the efficacy of it, we would never be in this clusterfuck of a disaster we call the post ACA era of healthcare. It's a shameful Disaster is what it is. Of course, the states are up to all kinds of shenanigans. The federal government is just the tip of the iceberg, but a kibbutz is like agricultural cult slavery. It's the last thing anybody ever wants to be on. A kibbutz is a thing that eventually ends up with just the ENFP mastermind and his wife growing weed. Mike Johnson has that used car sale vibe. Who's Mike Johnson? I'm not entirely up to date on Los Angeles water reclamation protocols. As far as I know, they don't just dump wastewater directly into the ocean. It gets processed before it gets put into the ocean. But there's a movement in Central California, like in the Central Valley, Fresno area and stuff, to build more dams, make more reservoirs, prevent is that what Mike Johnson says? I mean, that's what everyone's saying, you guys. Therefore, I'm Mike Johnson. I hope I have more of a new car salesman vibe. I'm not sure you're good enough to purchase this car, sir. I'm not impressed by your outfit. I'd like to have a snobby maitre d' vibe. Your palate is not good enough for our feed. Oh, Mike Johnson's the new House Speaker. My bad. I haven't been paying much attention to politics. Although I did see some headlines about House Speaker stuff last couple of days. I didn't look too closely at them. What do you think about parents who name their kids weird names like Morningstar or Phoenix or Angel? Well, a lot of Mexicans name their kids Angel, so that's not that unusual from a Los Angelino's perspective. Morningstar, I like that name because that's a pretty badass weapon. Phoenix is just dumb. What was it that those people named their kid Papa John? That's a terrible name. Why would you name your kid Papa John? You must really be into the pizza, I guess. And obviously, EIEIO is a terrible name for a child or whatever Elon Musk's kid's name is. I like a variety of football players' names. There's Jacoby Myers. He plays for the Raiders. As does as does Divine Diablo, who's like he's like this like 310-pound lineman that he pops out of his mom's womb, and her last name was Diablo, and she wisely decided to name this assuredly enormous baby Divine. Now, if it had been a daughter, that would really have been a much worse name, because you could not have a more stripper name than Divine Diablo. Angel Sin. Spelled Synn. Um, I think, like, as bad celebrity names go, Kanye West naming his kid North, I think that's kind of okay, not so bad. Other football players' names, like Charvarius Ward, Charvarius. Charvarius is an interesting name. You wonder where it came from. There's football player Money Parks. He plays for, I believe, Utah, maybe Washington. Washington, I think. Anyway, I think that his parents should have named him Amusement instead. Uh, there's there's a lot of funny named football players. Like, what was that guy's name? His last name was Clowney, like Jadavius or something. What strange football player names. Even, you know, apparently normal names. Like, there's a football player I saw the other night. His name was Max, but they had spelled it. His parents had spelled it Maxx. That just makes you immediately think of some penis enlargement pill at the 7-Eleven. I've not tried any of them, but I know that they're not going to spell Max with just one X. Um, you're fired up. You want more mental sparring. Well, yeah, I mean, it could be Food Max as well. At least they didn't spell with three X's. That would be even worse. Um, I think it's interesting that LeBron James named his son Bronny because, first of all, that's the name of a paper towels, even though it's spelled differently. Second of all, just give him his own name. You don't need to George Foreman your family that much. I'd also say you probably don't need to Deion Sanders your family. Deion Sanders ranking his family members is the most craziest thing I've ever heard. Like, who would rank their family members? Sorry, son, you're in last place. You need to step it up. You know, once you've had Eric, you can't hang out in the barracks. Okay, so well, I mean, I tend to agree that gridlock is good. Legislative gridlock is a good thing because, you know, does the federal government need to be passing even more laws when they've vastly exceeded the scope of their legitimate authority already? I don't think so. Rarely, on occasion, there might be such a need, but the federal government needs to remember its job. Jeremiah Fix, I've ruined you for other lovers, okay? You started with the very best. So, obviously, everybody else you're going to encounter is going to seem dumb by comparison. What would the TI approach be versus the FI approach if someone called you selfish? Somebody called me selfish? Um, if somebody called, I mean, it would really depend on the circumstances. So, I'd evaluate if I was actually being selfish or not. I don't remember people really ever calling me that except Tiffany. Tiffany calls me that all the time. I might call myself that. Um, but I think like Rachel gets that I'm selfish, but people, I'm not, I'm selfish in ways that are hard to accuse of being selfish, you know? Like my FE meeting, yes. I don't know. Who is this person? You're talking about you're talking about the Speaker of the House again? I'm surprised he could get away with that in this day and age. I was reading an interesting article about Tony Curtis today. He, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio is famous for like dating 20-year-olds and then breaking up with them before they turn 25 and getting a new 20-year-old. Well, that was basically Tony Curtis's MO, except instead of going out with them, he married them. He had this endless succession of marriages. At one point, when he was in his 30s, he married a 17-year-old. And then his last wife was 46 years younger than him. He was additionally famous for saying, um, I, uh, I could never marry a woman old enough to be my wife. So, you know, it's like in the olden days, I guess, I mean, I think even then there was some discomfort about the whole thing, but he was an interesting guy, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Hi, Ian Hilton. But definitely reminded me of Leonardo DiCaprio, the stories about him. I guess also, you know, Tony Curtis was like a serial cheater too. Spent a lot of time apparently at the Playboy Mansion. And the interesting thing is because of Spartacus, a lot of people think he's gay. Rachel was saying that she thought he was gay, and I think I thought he was gay too. But definitely not. So I thought that was an interesting article to read. The clickbait title that got me to read it, I never did figure out what this big secret was that was revealed after his death. And it's one of those keep reading on and on the background until finally we presumably tell you what the big secret is. But by the time I got there, if they said it, I was skimming so much that I didn't see what the big secret was. Yeah, those things are freaking annoying. But this one was actually pretty interesting because I didn't know anything about Tony Curtis. Um, in fact, I didn't even know that Jamie Lee Curtis was his daughter. She is. Jamie Lee Curtis is Tony Curtis's daughter. Also, Tony Curtis was a big advocate for the LBGT community. Well, not T back then, probably. Probably was just L and G. But uh, he he the studio didn't want to put this super gay scene in Spartacus in the movie. He fought hard to get them to include it. But then even they just humored him and filmed it, but they didn't even record the sound on it because they already knew they weren't going to use it. Then years later, he recorded the dialogue for his part and got somebody else to record the dialogue for the other guy's part who had died. And they released it on some, I don't know, VHS or DVD or something. I guess that's why, I guess I must have like heard without paying attention to the details some of that story when that happened. And that's why I thought he was gay, maybe. You didn't know that about Jamie Lee Curtis either? Yeah. Thanks. It's very chilly today. I've listened to Tony Curtis tell some stories, and he drops the movie star image and becomes Bernard Herschel Schwartz from the Bronx and tells the best stories about old Hollywood. Well, he's dead now. What's his mom? She probably didn't have to chat to Trouble. Show media. Probably just tells him that directly. I don't think Trouble even has his phone right now. I think he's charging upstairs. So anyway, one of his marriages, I don't know, maybe one lasted like 5 years or something. While cheating on his wife the whole time, he was insanely jealous and suspicious of her cheating on him with his friend Frank Sinatra. Until finally, after like 5 years of harping on the subject, she finally did cheat on him with Frank Sinatra. Actually, Trouble's got one of those old school phones that he receives live stream chats. And when he wants to send money, he has to push number one to do the letters like ABC. Like that. I remember I had one of those phones a long time ago. It was annoying. I'm glad I don't have that kind of phone anymore. This phone is fine. I like it fine. Seems like a good phone. Doesn't give me a lot of sass back or anything. Plus, unlike a lot of phones, this phone folds in half. So instead of always being a rectangle, some of the time it's a square. What is better, squares or rectangles? Well, when you're doing something on the phone like this, a rectangle is good. But when you just have your phone in your pocket, a square is much better. That's one thing I didn't really anticipate when I decided to get this folding phone. Was that the thing I was going to like best about it was just how much easier it is to carry around and such because it's a square. I thought I was going to use the folding feature a lot in filming things, but I haven't because, of course, how often are you going to encounter a conveniently located flat surface at the exact height you want it at? You're dreaming if you think that's going to happen a lot. Although it does enable / encourage me to make videos like bugs on the ground and stuff because I could just put it flat there, fold it. I was sold by the commercial where it showed like, there are these young people having fun and maybe they have skateboards, I think. And one of them goes and puts their fold phone on a wall and then does some little trick. I was like, how convenient. I may not have a skateboard, but I do like to make little videos. Yeah, not going to happen. Whatever wall you find is going to be too tall or too short to put it on. And even if you get lucky and it's not that way, it's perfect or whatever, you were a fool not to bring your tripod with you anyway, if you expected to be making videos that, put some effort into it at all. So, that's one to grow on, fold phone aficionados. Rachel's got her phone so that it doesn't make noise for notifications. It flashes a light. I kind of want to do that with my phone too because, or at least turn down the volumes on the notifications because I'm in bed. I hear ding ding from in here. It's like super loud. You guys hear the neighbors. This is every time the family transitions from the home out of the home. Often enough, returning to the home. There's this wonderful display of parenting called the mother yells at the children. The children sometimes, whine back or whatever. There you go. Mm-hmm. Lovely, huh? Well, what are you going to do? I've never heard anything that sounded like physical abuse. And she's mostly just yelling at them to do things or to stop doing things. She's saying, can you get in the car for the millionth time? Well, the fossil record is easy. It is real. It's not that. I mean, evolutionists point to the fossil record, but what's more notable is the fossil record is the evolutionist's best argument. The fossil record does suggest something like that. It's a reasonable intuitive leap to make, right? It's not the correct one, but it's a reasonable one. The original species was rabbits. Everything evolved both down and up from rabbits. Because, first God made a practice Garden of Eden. It didn't have people in it. He just dressed up two rabbits. Whereas the people had to be naked, he dressed up the rabbits so they looked more like people. Max and Venus. Max and Venus. Who would name a child Venus? It's a terrible name. And if your last name was Penix, wouldn't you change it to, I don't know, at least Benix? Or I don't know, Pemmix? All thermodynamics insisting there must be some kind of original energy, but they're eggs, but logically the egg do not manifest with the chicken. Well, I mean, you know, we're not going to resolve cosmological questions that I've already articulated are unresolved and unresolvable by anything other than faith, which isn't really resolving them. So, I mean, I've given all the reasons why already many times why it's a foolhardy endeavor to try to answer these grand cosmological questions with the current evidence we have, Like I just was reading an article yesterday about how they proved time travel is impossible. You might say, didn't they already prove that? Well, they proved it in another way, I guess. It's basically that you'd have to rewrite the fundamental properties of light in order to empower time travel, because the nature of light is such that it only moves one direction. It might move at relatively different speeds from the perspective of different observers, but from the perspective of some observer on site, it's always moving at the same speed. So, in other words, even no matter how fast you travel, you could never stop aging. But I mean, it's weird. It was weird to read them say they proved this, because as far as I knew, this was already understood. Like, as I said before, another way to think of it, which removes it from the physics realm back into a more sensible place, is obviously we can't time travel because the future hasn't happened yet. So we cannot even conceivably possibly travel forward. There's nothing to travel to. It hasn't happened yet. The idea of traveling back implies that there's a past retained to travel back to. Even if you were to somehow travel back in time, you just get younger and turn into a baby and disappear. Reagan. I think Reagan's not a bad name for a girl. It's not a terrible name. I knew a Reagan one time. I don't remember where I knew this person. I don't remember if it was back in school or if it was on as a teacher, but I knew a Reagan one time. Girl named Reagan. Oh, yes. You are a very, very good kitty. Yes, you are. Trouble apparently is not. I just heard Rachel say ow, which means she gave Trouble one too many pets. And she paid the price. She paid the ultimate price. Oh, yes. This kitty won't scratch me. If she gets sick of pets, she'll just get down. Huh, Capio? Oh, yes. What a beauty. What a glory pants McBeauty bottoms. You're a majestic, regal, and noble beast of very fine lineage. So I'm pleased that this live stream this evening is rather more pleasant than the live stream earlier, which featured a whole bunch of nonsense. But as always, a lot of times when I'm feeling any kind of FI stuff, like I was feeling kind of like humdrum before that live stream, and that live stream made me feel even more humdrum. And as I got into bed to try to take a little nap, I realized I'm just super hungry. I got up, I ate some food, like a decent amount of it, but it still really wasn't enough. I didn't really feel better until I got back with the supermarket chicken, ate a bunch of chicken, and I felt better. Also, it didn't hurt to take a couple Tylenols, half Clonopin, a couple gabapentins. It's called The Sailor's Friend, that cocktail of pills. Richard Dawkins, that is the stupidest thing anybody's ever said. Eggs don't have ways to do things, right? They're not agents. It's a reification fallacy. Only chickens might have ways to make other chickens. Eggs don't have ways to make other eggs. And you're not conveying anything meaningful with that metaphor. You're just being misleading. Richard Dawkins. So if Richard Dawkins makes that basic a mistake, and we know he does, then none of us should pay any attention to that moron. When you can't distinguish metaphor from actual language, then yeah. The second law of what? Right. Well, I mean, but the whole idea of an egg having a way to do things, or a genome having a way to do things, or having interests, is a reification fallacy. If your notion is predicated on a fallacy, then it's it renders the whole argument invalid. I mean, why are we still asking evolutionary questions? Shouldn't we have answers by now? How long has it been since Darwin posited this notion? Oh, it is just a metaphor, Winston's mom. Eggs don't have interests, nor do they have, you know, the means of attaining outcomes. They're not agents. The line between agent and non-agent is a clear, bright line. It is an absolutely rock solid distinction that allows us to distinguish between metaphor and literal language. So, our genomes don't have an interest, they don't have a goal they're pursuing. And you can replace egg with genome, right? How dare you interrupt Harry Potter and the methods of rationality? I mean, the thing is, Winston's mom, if you want to continue to actually have good cause to believe in evolution, you need to rebut meaningfully any one of my myriad falsifications of evolution. In the absence of such a rebuttal, it stands falsified. And I've yet to hear anybody come up with a single good rebuttal to any of my myriad falsifications of evolution. So, don't even get me started. It's like the arguments don't lie, right? There's so many people who believe so passionately in evolution that if there were a convincing argument about the subject, I'd have heard it by now. I've heard many, many people come at me and say, "You're wrong about this." Not one of them has answered any of my points, ever. I don't falsify Evelyn. I falsify evolution. Okay, I am maybe more able than you, Winston, to win a debate, but I'm not more able to win a debate about evolution than anybody in the world, evolutionary scientists, etc., especially when I'm not trying to win the debate. I'm trying to get real answers from people about what this thing is they supposedly believe in and how it supposedly works, and I just never been able to get any real answers from individuals I've talked to, from scholarly journals, etc. I don't have an interested side here. So it's like, if to this moment, if somebody gave me a convincing piece of evidence that said, okay, we were wrong all these times before about all of our mechanisms, but now we have the actual mechanism. It's this heretofore undiscovered thing called evolutionary fluid. And we can understand its mechanisms, we can replicate it in the lab, we can, I would say, fuck yeah, okay, now we understand where species come from. But until that, we don't. And that's just how it is, Nobody understands things they can't explain. It's not possible to understand something you cannot explain. It's not an explanation at all, Cedric Burkhardt. It's absolutely not an explanation. What do you think the mechanism is? Mutation? Natural selection? If you actually research it a little bit, you'll discover that those things are not generally considered to be the mechanism anymore. Nobody's really sure what the mechanism is supposed to be. Watch David Berlinski on the subject. I don't feel like going over it again right now. I've gone over it so many times and encountered so many people responding just like you did right there and answered it. I don't even know how many times. Of course, everybody who wants to argue with me about evolution, not a single one of them has researched it nearly as much as I have, nor is nearly as good at researching stuff as I am, nor is nearly as good at critiquing and or evaluating cases for whether they hold water or not, as I am. And nor is anybody generally as disinterested about everything as I am. I evaluate things on their merits. I don't evaluate things because I go into it wanting it to be this or that. I cannot see the data and not deal with it objectively. If I want to be subjective, I have to subjectively decide to not look at data. And that's not what I've done with evolution at all. But I get it. It can be tough to distinguish between things that are wrapped in the cloth of science versus things that are actually robust and withstand scrutiny, or at least play by the rules of science. Like make predictions once they're falsified, scrap the theory rather than just retooling it with, okay, well, maybe it's punctuated equilibrium. And put some big words and call it science. You ain't fooling me, motherfuckers. You can fool all these people, but you're not fooling me. Hmm. Someone's screaming. Some child is screaming. I don't know if it's those people or not, but there's a lot of like bad energy in the air today. Not so much right now for me, from my perspective, but earlier today when the live stream there certainly was. the the best explanation is always the best explanation. Sometimes the best explanation is we don't know what the explanation for this is. And it's always preferable to say we don't know than to say we're affirming this non explanation in the absence of a good explanation. Because, that's being intellectually honest. We thought it was this, but we were wrong, and it made sense sort of intuitively. But when we thought about it more and worked out the math on it and stuff, we found ourselves having to draw ever more concentric circles to keep a geocentric universe and solar system. And ultimately, we had to say, "Look, Catholic Church, sorry, we." The rest of all of academia and science just can't find any traction for you here. You're going to have to abandon this word you use that it doesn't mean anything because you don't define it as having any particular mechanism, and you keep changing what that is, etc. You're going to have to write in the books, we don't know where species came from. I know, that's horrible, huh? Well, that's called being honest. There's various speculations, but you wouldn't even bother putting those in the textbook. You might just say so, noting that these are purely speculative, but that's as good as we can do. That's just the truth about it. Maybe that'll change. Maybe new evidence will come up that'll clarify the matter for us. Maybe some evidence of, I don't know, that we got here from another planet on a spaceship or something. Or, I mean, a real Noah's Ark was we came from another planet with two of all the animals. And said, okay, we're here now. It's right around, I don't know, just like 10 minutes after the dinosaurs went extinct. Let's settle here. Maybe it's all simulation. Maybe other aliens, like your regular looking green aliens or whatever, they came and purposely put us all here. Maybe they have an evolution ray that they pointed at everything to make it evolve from one thing. And then once they took the ray away, things stopped evolving. I don't know. That would be a better explanation than our current evolution explanation, which is not an explanation at all. At least the evolution ray story has a plausible mechanism, conceivable at least. Like, okay, well, maybe aliens would have a ray that we don't know how it works that makes like single cell things evolve into whatever specs you put into the ray. Who knows? That's then you don't have to explain how the ray works. It's some sort of super technology that aliens have, right? At least then you've got compartmentalized your ignorance into a proper bag. The thing is, it's critical to note this. When I win debates, quote unquote, it is not because of my debating skill. I am not interested in winning debates if I am wrong. I'm interested in learning and correcting myself. I win debates because I'm right. Very easy to win when you're right and a good debater. And it's dirty to even try to win when you're wrong. It's filthy. I wouldn't befoul myself like that. I'm going to get down in the gutter with the pigs, befoul myself by trying to win arguments when I'm wrong. I don't think so. When I'm wrong, I say, oh, I guess I'm wrong. Thank you. I stand corrected. Like any sane person would. Well, from your butt, Ruben. Blinded by your mom. Poked out both of my eyes while your dad stood along. Something like that. You know, everybody else loves to argue things that they're wrong about. I hate it. It's like you're just battling uphill entirely. Why would you just not switch teams to the correct team so that your arguing process can be easy? I'm not attached to whatever nonsense is being argued about. I mean, sure, if it's like how should we engage in public discourse about public policy, then yeah, I'm kind of passionate about that. But I'm still right. You know. The point is, my passion in either direction does not impact my objectivity about things. Even if I'm disappointed by what I have to accept as true, I accept it as true. Probably too much, you know. It's like I'm so opposed to subjective bias that I might err on the other side of the coin by assuming that just because that's subjectively what I want, I need to be extra hard on it, you know? Intelligent design? I mean, it's a terrible argument. You could never win an argument on intelligent design because the basic premise of intelligent design is, you know, how is it that Denny's always gets a new shipment of eggs just before they were going to run out of their last eggs, you know, just in time, all the time, like almost every single time. There must be a great central government egg distribution center that does its job really well. That's the notion of intelligent design. That because you can see a system operating effectively and smoothly, that it must have been designed to do so. In fact, the most effective systems operate by affording independent agency to independent agents and conscribing the limits of their legitimate agency to universal negative rights, by according to universal negative rights. In other words, by affording them rights within a certain sphere that confer upon them additional responsibility to respect rights of others in that same sphere. So there you have it. The thing is, just because intelligent design is a terrible argument, as are every other attempt to prove God, the best one by far is the argument I've made, which is that because all reality proceeds on, or is predicated on observation, if we want to imagine a universe that continues doing stuff when none of us are observing it or no life is observing it, then we have to imagine a single grand observer. And anything with the capacity to observe all the universe at once, it would have to be called God. But the problem with that quote unquote proof is I can come up with a perfectly equally viable alternative explanation that each individual is rendering reality independently, and that in fact, when things aren't observed, they're in some sort of state of superposition, waiting to be collapsed by the observation, which collapses along the whole wave. So, even my best argument is I can come up with an equally viable counter explanation. So, yeah, there are no good arguments to prove God because we do have one definition that we know for God is definitely an appropriate definition. God cannot be engaged with via means other than faith. God is that which you must engage with only via faith. So, it's definitionally impossible to prove God because any effort to do so is contrary to the definition of God as that which you must only engage with via faith. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to make of all that. Like the question of whether or not a physical reality persists in the absence of observation is mostly a moot question on Earth because there's basically no physical environment in which except underneath the ground in which there's not life, some sort of life that might provide observation. And stuff like magma pools under the ground and sonar and stuff, we've no real reason. I mean, there's no difference between it becoming a functional reality for everybody only upon observation and there is no meaning to the idea that it existed somehow before observation because yes, there's a presumptive reality we all operate under that things that are in some stage of a process when we observe them were in some earlier stage of the process prior to our observations, but that reality itself is rendered by that observation. So it's like to try to make the argument that stuff exists before the observation is to not get how how that's an absolute barrier, right? So, this is good philosophizing here. Good stuff. And it's really that reality that observation precedes every reality that allows or necessitates that cognitive functions be the metaframe. Because since observation equals more or less attention, since attention therefore precedes every other reality or every reality, then it's situated naturally to be the metaframe. Here's the thing. I want people to ask themselves this question. If you think I'm wrong about evolution, why do you think I'm wrong about it? Not why you think evolution's right, or even what I'm saying is wrong about it. But knowing me as you know me, as this hyper rational, very analytically skilled guy whose most hated phenomenon is to be all like meow 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 about this and then be wrong. um, what makes you think that I'm meow meow meowing so much about this if I didn't like really make sure that it was bullshit first? Obviously, I don't want to get caught with my pants down making big, bold claims about something regarding which there's almost universal consensus. If I could see any possible pathway to proving me wrong, I'm doing the other side's work better than the other side's doing it. Faith just means trust in the Greek. So, are you saying God's from Greece? Or just that he enjoys eating goats? Well, I appreciate your appreciation, Ruben. So the benefit is going both ways. Could I have been any more delighted with the news I heard the other day at lunch when David told us that after he was done with his dealings with us, he another couple kind of like us had come up wanting to sell their house in South Pass and buy a house up here. They didn't have a realtor in South Pass yet, though, for that house. So David said, well, I know a guy. And he called Dean. And David said, like, hey, how do you feel about doing a referral deal on a $2 million house in South Pass? And Dean's like, yeah. And so Dean ended up selling those people's house. Then they bought a house in Mariposa by David. And David got 25% of Dean's commission on that house for the referral. So it made me very happy to know that both Dean and David benefited further from their dealings with us because we were happy with both of our realtors. Yeah, I mean, I have a number of videos. If you search my channel for the word evolution, you'll see specific videos where I make the case in fairly compact fashion. And there's a lot of case to make. If you want to hear somebody else make it from more of a mathematician's perspective, maybe watch David Berlinski videos. I wasn't directed to him until after I had made a bunch of evolution videos. But watching him I picked up a few arguments from him that I didn't have before, so that was nice. Yeah, it was a really good ending for me, especially because I felt this whole time like, man, David should have gotten more out of that deal because Dean made bank on it, we made bank on it, and we got this wonderful house. But the whole thing, the most important part was getting this place and being here and getting this house in particular. We've now determined because it's just such a great house. Um, It's like so well insulated, so well soundproof. Like lots of little things I would never think of when buying a house. We just got lucky, and it happens to have all these wonderful things, um, wonderful qualities about it. But we would never have gotten this house if it hadn't been for David putting together a contingency deal, so that they got the buyers to agree to and like the penalty for backing out of it was remarkably small also for the amount of deal overall that we were doing, so we didn't back out of it, of course, and we got it done by before the deadline, so we didn't even sacrifice any little bit of money, uh, but and that was we have Dean a lot to thank for that as well. He put together the deal we ended up taking, and it came with a little bit less cash, but it was a little bit quicker and had fewer fuck arounds. So we're like, boom, let's do it. Great. Both of realtors really were integral, huge parts in Rachel and I having this nice new life to live. So I feel bad, like, not that Dean remembers ENFJs, he's not fixated on some past client, but I feel bad because I was not a very agreeable client for Dean. I was much more agreeable for David because I wanted to be here. I wanted to get rid of that fucking place. Somebody asked me, I don't know if it was this morning, but I never finished answering the question. They asked me, do you ever miss the old neighborhood? Not at all. Not in the slightest. I mean, it's like I can think of a couple things I liked about LA that I kind of miss, like seeing Dave and Natalie, seeing Cameron more often. But to be honest, I just every time I think about those two places, I think about just how much Mariposa makes me realize how much I hated Arcadia and Los Angeles in general by the end. I was just done with Los Angeles. It's a nightmare living in Los Angeles, especially where we lived in Arcadia. It's just, I don't think there are any quiet parts of LA. It's not like you're going to find, unless you're in deep in San Marino or something with these palatial estates. Even then, you're gonna get helicopters flying over your house, I'm sure. The thing is, I really am bothered by noise pollution, and I always have been, and I've dealt with it my whole life in Los Angeles. I am bothered by traffic. Driving in general is something that tires me out. It saps my energy, and it saps it most if there's traffic. Uh, One of the things I love about Mariposa, and it's a bigger deal than you'd think, is no traffic lights. And to the extent that there's traffic, well, it's not even. really traffic. It's just like you pull into town and you have to slow down to 25 because it's a quaint little town with a slow speed limit. And that's about how fast the people are going on this 2 lane road anyway. And so, whatever, you know, it's not even a traffic thing. The worst thing that might ever happen to us in Mariposa, we might have to park a little bit far away from something if there's an event. Or just if we're going to a busy part of town and a busy part of the day. Like, we went to lunch with David, we had to park up the hill, like 1 block away. when we when we went to when we go to the county fair or the butterfly festival, both of them, we had to park up the highway and walk down the hill to the fairgrounds because the parking lot was full. I can live with those inconveniences. I'm a little worried about walking along the highway because I don't want Rachel to get run over by a car. And also, if you try to walk on the other side of the cars, there's like this ditch that you could fall into. So you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. You walk on the outside of the cars. Well, some car on the highway might run into you in theory if you're not keeping an eye out. If you walk on the other side, you could fall in the ditch. These are the sort of problems I have nowadays. you know, and Rachel will get sometimes a little fussy if she has to walk too far of a distance or if I'm going too fast when we're walking. Maybe fussy is too strong of a word. She'll give me eyes. They're like an incredibly subtle version of Trouble's big eyes. Just really, her eyes don't even change. It's just her pupils dilate slightly. And I go, okay, Rachel's getting grumpy. Time to go. Sometimes there are occasions when, believe it or not, Rachel is grumpy. Of course, she's extremely apologetic afterwards for being grumpy, but it does happen. Oh, I mean, the thing is, well, we have that loud neighbor lady, right? The car, the husband, etc. Except I can't hear a peep of it if I'm inside the house. So I know she doesn't have long legs. I know. Um, I'll have to try to walk slower. We try not to do a lot of extended walking unless we're taking a walk. I try not to get ahead of her if we're just taking a walk around the block or something. But a lot of times if we're walking somewhere in the world, then it's it's a more complicated endeavor than just two people casually strolling side by side in an open field, right? Or on a sidewalk maybe. There's other people going the other way. We got to go like this, that kind of stuff. So I'm just trying to navigate this thing to our destination. It's like today it's a grocery store, right? We'd gotten our pumpkins, we'd gotten our Halloween candy in case we have any trick-or-treaters, and we were returning to the pharmacy. We got her medicine from the pharmacy, and then we were heading to the register. Now, I'm walking in front of her. She's pushing the cart behind me. I am not looking back. I'm looking at the registers. I'm trying to determine which is the best register to go to. and I'm making my way there, sort of making a little wedge and figuring she's going to follow behind me, pushing the cart. Why? Not because I wouldn't like to walk beside her, but because walking in the supermarket, especially in the Pioneer Market, which has got these, I don't know, they've got like weird rush hours throughout the day at random times, followed by periods of complete emptiness in the store. It's really strange. Um, but mostly it's quite crowded. It's rare that we go there that the parking lot is not full. So walking around the Pioneer Market is no place for a lover's stroll, let me tell you. You want to get your stuff you got to get and get back to the car. It's a pleasant enough shopping experience. I like the people at Pioneer Market. I like being a local, shopping at the local supermarket. But it's not the most spacious supermarket. Nobody would call it cavernous. Yeah, well, I have grown in this period of time that I've been with Rachel. And, uh, we talk about things like that. There's never any point of potential conflict, disagreement, misunderstanding, or whatever that we don't talk about if it's bothering one of us. It may take Rachel longer to get around and bringing it up, but I believe she does bring up stuff eventually if it bothers her. We've talked about the walking thing, and the thing is, Rachel's only bothered by things if she perceives that they mean something bad. So she understands why I walk in front of her, when I walk in front of her, etc. And she doesn't perceive it as happening for a bad reason, so it doesn't bother her. If she thought it were indicative of me not respecting her or something, then it would bother her. If she reads some sort of article that says, uh, it means your partner doesn't really care about you, she'll be concerned about that or something until she'll bring it up with me, and then I'll say, well, that's not why I walk in front of you. I just think of walking as like driving. It's not really an activity. It's this thing you have to get over with quickly enough to get to wherever it is you're going. Well, Rachel can always remove herself. Um, you know, we we do spend a lot of time together, um, but Rachel also spends plenty of time by herself. We don't really have the same sleep schedule, so she's up for hours every night in her room doing her own thing. You know, and I think she actually prefers when she can sleep comfortably when she we sleep together all night. I think we both have mixed feelings about it depending on the individual night. If we're both tired and feeling really sleepy and sleeping well, not not tossing and turning, not feeling crowded, troubles being cooperative or whatever, then we wake up in the morning and go, "Oh, we love sleeping together. I love sleeping with you. It was so nice last night." But if but if it's a hot night or we're just not that tired and just not that sleeping very well or whatever, then we probably won't stay in bed together for as long. Tonight probably Rachel's gonna sleep quite well. I'll probably sleep quite well. We may or may not stay in bed together. Really depends on what the night dictates. It's cozier now that it's cold outside. It's currently, it says 55. Let me check that because I bet it's been updated. Yeah, it's currently 50. And it's got a low tonight of 32. When is it going to be 32? Oh, it's going to be 32 at 6 in the morning tomorrow. Wow. It's pretty cold. It says it's 50 degrees, but it feels like it's 47. I'm going to go outside and see if it feels like 47. I'm going to use my subjective thermometer to feel if it feels like it's 47. 47 feels like a certain kind of sadness. And to really feel the temperature, I got to stand not underneath that thing, just out here in the open. So since those people left their house, their dog is barking now. But you'll know when we go inside, we can't hear it at all. Yeah. I would not say, I'd say, if I had guessed, I would have said like, 55, 54. But if I had stayed out a little longer, I'd said, no, it's a little colder than that. And I feel myself getting chilly already. It's a wintry kind of autumn evening. Maybe autumn, but the evening is wintry. Like your mom. When she blinded me. Blinded by your mom. She poked out both my eyes while your dad stood and watched. Oh. So, the good news is, I think tonight's going to be an early night. It's going to be a good night's sleep. The kind of night that I like to write down some notes about in my sleep diary. Dear sleep diary, last night I went to bed at meow, but I didn't really fall asleep until meow. Then I got up at meow to pee, and then I had a little trouble going back to sleep, so I got up and smoked a cigarette. And then I went back to bed. I slept all the way till meow. The end. Love, Eric. That'll be my sleep diary. I suppose you could note dreams if you have any memorable ones during the course of a given night. Like last night, I dreamt of a cigar going into a tunnel, going into a cigar, going into a tunnel. What do you think it means? It's like pretty much all of my dreams are cigars and tunnels. Like, presumably that dog might still be barking outside. You'll notice you can't hear a goddamn thing. I can. And I'm noise sensitive. So, that's pretty good. I'm so noise sensitive that I want to turn down the volume on the notifications on my phone because I don't like that I can hear it from the bedroom when when I have it plugged in here in the living room at night. So, pretty noise sensitive. I've also noticed that, my right ear is not as good as my left ear as far as my hearing goes. I have a little bit of, what's it called? Tinnitus in my right ear. But it's weird because that's something that started since I've gotten up here. Even though I can't think of any instance where I subjected my hearing to anything that would have suddenly given me tinnitus. So I think it happened when I got really sick. There may have been a bit of a ear infection, but it's also not constant. Like there are some times when it goes away. So I think maybe wow, that's one possible interpretation. The air is thinner at higher altitudes. The change in air pressure may affect eustachian tube function. That's plausible. A combination of that and something that happened when I was sick, because it seems like when my sinuses are really clear, I don't hear it. I've been trying to pay attention like every night when I go to bed. It's not that loud, so like to hear it right now. Right, I can't really hear it right now. I gotta really be lying in bed usually. I can kind of hear it a little bit, I think, but it's hard to tell. There's a fair amount of little noises going on. Like I think the dishwasher's going on right now, maybe, or maybe it might just be the heater. I mean, it doesn't bother me very much because it's really not bad. I've just been always so fussy about my hearing that I'm surprised to have it at all. And like I said, I really notice it only um, when I'm just lying down to go to sleep. Right. Well, I don't really need treatment for it because it's not really bothersome. Like I don't notice it throughout the day. If there's decent amount of background noise going on, I can't hear it. I hear fine. I still probably hear better than the vast majority of not just even people my age, probably even younger people damage their hearing more than I did somehow. I did a pretty good job of, even at a young age, of protecting my hearing. I didn't like it when I went to a concert and my ears rang afterwards. It bothered me a lot. So I started putting stuff in my ears early on. I mean a symphony. I mean a philharmonic. I mean a show. But I definitely did have some smallish number of, but not tiny number of shows that I walked away from with my ears ringing. That's unfortunate. If I could go back in time, I would do an even better job of protecting my hearing. But my eyesight, in contrast, I don't think of my eyesight as something that I could have protected or not, It just, everybody's eyes tend to wear out as they get older. The muscle that allows them to zoom in on small stuff weakens and can't zoom in as well. Yeah, well, I don't really need relief from it, you know. It's more a philosophical concern than a practical one. Um, it's only my radiator, and like I said, it's the only reason I probably can notice it at all is because there's none at all in my left ear, and I'm I'm used to listening to things very carefully. Like, when you produce music, you gotta listen to things carefully. Like, listen to the sound of my own ear carefully. Like after I discovered it, because it's like I said, it wasn't, I think, until after I got really sick when we moved in that I started having this, and maybe the result of some kind of little ear infection or something. I'm not sure. But when I noticed it, I was like, what the fuck is that? Hopefully it'll go away. And then I've been keeping track of it for a while now. And it does go away sometimes for a stretch of time. So I don't know what to make of that. But again, I think it has to do with whether my sinuses are in more or less full of gunk. Well, this right here is not a bad ear at all. It's it's probably better than the average ear, but it's just I notice it because I keep so much track of my ears, and I don't like it because my ears have always been clean. So just as a status thing, I don't like it. Just like I didn't like when I had to start wearing reading glasses, both as a status and as a practical concern, because that actually creates a hassle. This little teeny ringing in my ear, or right ear only, creates no hassle whatsoever. So I only notice it when I'm like pay attention to it specifically. Overall, everything's working pretty well, except I have to wear reading glasses. I'm feeling pretty good about my current solution to the reading glass conundrum, which is I have my reading glasses tied with a homemade glasses fob to my coat. And it works out pretty well because when I'm in here, I can read the things on the meow. When I'm outside, I have the phone, I need my glasses. Well, then I have my jacket on. It might be that I have a fairy ringing a bell in my ear, but if so, I expect to hear a rhythmic dinging rather than a steady, low volume, like sine wave at, I don't know, like 6,000, 6K or something. It's probably is like 6K. I could figure out the pitch of it if I really tried. Let's see if I can hear it right now. Let's see if I can figure out the pitch of it. I'm trying to just fade it a little bit. Let's see. It's like here. What is that? F sharp. like this F sharp was not a super pure pitch. It's a little warbly. What I need is just levitating glasses that follow me around. That's what I need. Okay, if we're gonna play wishful thinking, because what is and having AirTag on my glasses fob. It just means that now I have to find my phone, right? So I can look up where on the AirTag thing is where the glasses are. Well, I had two pairs. I lost one of them. I need to get more pairs of glasses, but I haven't. I thought about it in the store today, but I'm notoriously slow about purchasing things I need to purchase. I have to think about it a few times before I actually pull the trigger. Right. AirTag on my phone. Then I have to find Rachel's phone, right? To AirTag the one phone I want's on my phone. Well, of course, I have to have an AirTag on Rachel's phone, which then I'll have to find the laptop, to find Rachel's phone, to find my phone, to find my glasses fob. It really defeats the purpose of a glasses fob at that point. I told you what I want, Ruben. Why wish for something less than the ideal? I want glasses that, in keeping with my unstated will, lift up from my face, hover conveniently above my head while I do other things, and then go back to my eyes every time I need them to see something. I want that. Self-aware, sentient, levitating slave glasses. I want them to be a biological creature, engineered both to levitate and have as its prime directive closing the gap between the distance between when I want glasses and it's not quite there yet, and when I don't want glasses and it's still there for a second. $45 for glasses? I can get them for like $20 at the less than $20 even at the pharmacy. Reading glasses shouldn't cost $45. You must do some fancy reading or something. Oh, for the tracker. I was gonna say that's too much for eyeglasses. I was thinking you must be reading War and Peace or something else fancy once in a while if you're buying $45 reading glasses. The problem I saw at the pharmacy today, I didn't give a thorough look to the glasses thing, but from my initial glance, this side of the turning glasses thing, it looked like all ladies' glasses. Is that because, since Mom, you had eyeball replacement surgery? Or is it because your eyes magically still work fine at your age? If so, well, I'm jealous. And you should be like, fuck yeah, me. Because most people, their eyes are not still working that well after 50. Reading rocks. Oh, it's because you have farsighted vision. You're legally blind, but up close you can see fine. Well, I guess then, in order to in order to account for your particular situation, they need to put up the street signs in Braille so that signs you can't read from a distance, you'll still be able to know what they say. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Because that doesn't make any sense. You see why it's funny? It's because it doesn't make any sense. Because if you can't see the signs, obviously, you would not be able to read the Braille with your fingers. It's kind of a nice black background, huh? Oh, you canine nuisance, you. Let me get what I'm going to get. Well, it's not really dark enough yet. There's not really any point. Gotta get out the telescope because, earlier during the day, I tried to show you something in the telescope. It did not work. No, sir or ma'am, it did not. But, you know what I bet you have to do here? I wonder if you have to do this. You have to put this in here. Still like that. I don't know. I don't know how to make this phone thing work. It's a bit of a pricky, It's a prickly trick. It's Captain Stupid's prickly trick, I believe is what its scientific name is. But maybe I could figure out how to use it. Who knows? After all, they don't call me the captain of industry for nothing. And in fact, of course, they don't call me the captain of industry at all. But that's really missing the point. I think we can all agree about that. I guess this thing doesn't come off. You difficult thing with your TE. What do I look like? Captain Figures Stuff Out? No, I'm not Captain Figures Stuff Out. I am Eric. He's different from Captain Figures Stuff Out. Totally different person. You've got me confused with a completely different individual. This just in, local Mariposa man kegels himself to death. Is that how I went deaf? Too many Kegel exercises? That makes sense. But let me tell you, my wawina is so tight. I can snap a pool cue in two with my vagina. That's how much my Kegel exercises have strengthened my vagina. Kegels mess with your inner ear, probably. Well, to the best of my knowledge, my vagina is disconnected from my ear. So I should be fine. Even if other people suffer from this, it should be fine for me. The doctors diagnosed me with vagina ear disconnection syndrome early on in life. I said, how are you going to hear what your vagina is saying? I said, I don't know, maybe give me a vagina hearing aid? They said, no such product exists. But Ruben, I'm pretty sure you're more likely to interfere with my inner ear than any Kegel exercises. Okay. And no, you can't do butthole Kegel exercises. Don't try, gentlemen. You have to be a lady like me. Penises can do Kegel exercises? That doesn't make any sense. Penises do really one exercise. In, out, in, out. It's their preferred, machine at the gym. It's like the rowing machine, kind of. Oh, really? Well, what if I want my pee to go on forever? Well, once again, I made it out of light or something. Wow, it is chilly out here. It's as chilly as the reception for those guys from Hamas at my friend's bar mitzvah the other day. I gotta say, things didn't go much better when I took my buddy Ezekiel from the JDL to a Ramadan party at my buddy Muhammad's house. In both instances, chilly receptions. I'm gonna put on my glasses. Can literally pee like a Vegas fountain if you want, Eric. Thanks, I appreciate it. The ultimate step-by-step guide using Kegel to improve prostate health. Really? Maybe I'll give it a shot. But I'll tell you how it works. You just gotta push on that thing. If you sit, for me anyway, I don't know if this is true for everybody. If you sit the right way in the shower, you can get it with your middle finger. Just like push on it like die, motherfucker. And then it'll feel better for a little while. It's also important to get all the poop out of you. Makes a big difference whether you have any poop in you or not, for me. If I have poop in me, then I'm going to have to get up every 2 hours to pee. If I don't have any poop in me, then I probably can go 4 hours without getting up. At least one stretch during the night. Maybe not consistently, but. And it's good to get a solid 4 hours without interruption. That's really restorative, curative. It's curative like Like bong rips on a cold Christmas morning. I don't know what you say, but I loved you. Well, thank you. Uh, I guess you love me for reasons other than my words. No, I have no secret poop removal method except live streaming. Live streaming, I discovered, has a very statistically significant deviance from other things in terms of increasing your likelihood to poo. My love language is language. My love language is touching. That's not a language. Okay, then it's gift giving. That's also not a language. Okay, how about quality time? Again, not a language. But you know, who's nitpicking? You are, Eric. You're nitpicking. All right, fine. You got me. I'm nitpicking. Yes, Eric, everything can be a language. Everything from touching to meowing to swimming, everything's a language. So he's speaking the language of swimming. He's not speaking, swimming's not a language. Oh, those pesky metaphors, huh? They're like a pocket full of nothing. That's what I have to say about metaphors. The fact that we try to teach our children about it as though it were a good thing, instead of these horrible things curse us all the time. This is why we can't have nice things. Unit section B, metaphor. Why we can't have nice things. Why we are unable to talk to one another. It's like Michelle Shark said in the ridiculous letter she sent to some copyright thing. Government copyright, I don't know, committee or whatever. Saying, I'm an artist. I'm a poet. So I'm going to do what poets do. I'm going to speak in metaphor. And you're probably going to shit on this because, yeah. Well, what you did, Michelle Shark, was make a bunch of counterfactual claims and hide behind calling them metaphor because you're so disconnected from any kind of reality. Just channel search the word evolution, you'll come up with at least 10 videos, I swear. I could channel search it for you and put the link here. Hold on. Oh. A lot of people don't know how to find the channel search thing. Especially now that they moved it further to the right. Evolution. There might be a playlist called Evolution too. But here you go. This URL will take you to the various meows. Oh, kitty, kitty, wonderful, you remind me of tenderness. Yes, this is a kitty whose tenderness is wonderful and whose love is an elixir to a wounded heart. Or a regular heart, too. My heart's not very wounded right now, but if it were, you'd be a wonderful elixir. Yes, you would. Oh, yes, because Daddy knows and Daddy loves. Oh, yes, and Daddy respects his very good kitty. He respects and admires her. Yes, he does. It's because of your majestic and regal ways. That's why. Why else? Yes, yes. You even have just the right amount of imperfection. You've got your one toe that was not healed properly after she was bitten by a. Winston's mom remembers this. Winston's mom actually suggested the spot to look where we found her. You can see the toe right here. It's like messed up looking because she got bit by either a possum or a raccoon on her foot and got all infected. After she got bit, she disappeared for a while. We couldn't find her. When we did finally find her, we took her to the vet. It was expensive, of course. Veterinarians are expensive. Oh, yes. The goodness, the truth, the glory, and the fineness. You embody them all. That's why I have renamed you Lioness. Get ready for fall. Yes, I did a little chair for you. K-A-P-I-O, K-A-P-I-O, K-A-P-I-O. What's that spell? Capillo. Yes, that's what that spells. And what does Capillo mean? Capillo means sweetheart. Because you are a sweetheart. Yes, you are. Unlike Trouble, who's very loving sometimes, but I think nobody in their right mind would call Trouble a sweetheart. Let's see if Capillo grabs me with her paw in order to get me to pet her some more. She sometimes does that. It's irresistible. Every once in a while she'll meow at me, give her more pets. Let's see. If she says I'm making her insecure about. No, I just put the link. What are you talking about? Did you click the link I put? Let me see. When I click the link, I get a playlist. It's just evolution. Maybe not the best one, but I mean, it's got 23 videos on it. Let me get that playlist for you. I'm sure there are other evolution videos that are not on that playlist. But here's the playlist. What happens if you click that? The one I just put right now, the playlist. I don't know why the previous one didn't work right, but I noted when I clicked it that even though it popped up the evolution search results for me, it didn't say the search term in the URL that it had before. The one I just put is a playlist, right? And it's playlist, the title of it is Evolution. It has 23 videos. It was last updated on August 13th, 2023. So I'd recommend the more recent ones, but actually none of them were super recent in this one. Nevertheless, it doesn't matter. The arguments are the same. Okay, good. But if you want to check out another intellectual's rebuttal of evolution, you'll hear some different arguments, more math arguments than I make. If you listen to David Berlinski, try not to get one of the soundbite clips. Try to get one of the longer ones where he really breaks it down. But mine are fine too. It's not like he's making a fundamentally better case against it than I am. In many ways, I'm making a better case because I'm a debate coach and he's a scientist. So my expertise is case making. Let's just say stasis. I misspelled stasis. So, sorry about that, everybody. I misspelled stasis. Oh, yes. Oh, specialness. When tender kitties with tender times come for tender pets, that's when intimate moments are best. Oh, yes. Who's my intimate moments? Yes. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my gracious. Yes. Let me see if I can get her to get me to get her more pets. Come on, Kafia. Yeah. You want them, huh? Tell me. Okay. Okay, there you go. You want more pets. Stop misspelling stasis. No one's ever going to take you seriously if you keep spelling it Stacy. So when these dynamic systems reach a state of Stacy, when they reach Stacy, that's when everything gets like super crazy. Because Stacy's so crazy. Oh, meow. Your specialist is not being denied by anybody. How could they? How could they deny your specialist? No one could. Okay. Okay. More pets. More pets for a very deserving kitty. Yes. Oh, so good. You were voted most likely to deserve pets at your kitty high school. And they were right. You can always count on high school students to correctly predict the futures of their classmates. The troubles crashed out with Rachel in bed. So, you want more? More pets? Oh, the quantity of pets, though. I don't know if we have the distribution capacity to handle this amount of pets. On such short notice. The shipping costs are going to be astronomical. Well, despite her one messed up toe on her back foot, doesn't seem to have impacted her hunting ability any. She regularly brings mice and lizards into the house. In fact, we have mouse blood on the floor in the hallway where the cats did their dirty work, you know. They did their dirty business. If some representatives from the mouse community, you want more pets? Okay. My goodness. How many pets do you need? Did you reach out and grab Daddy to get his hand and to pet you with it? Yes, you did. I can see clearly now. The rain has gone. Yes. You've earned recognition by all the kitty recognition and award providing societies, such as Kitties International, Delightful Kitties Express. They're named like package delivery companies. You can see clearly now. It's okay, my darling. But I am going to have to kiss you. I know, you don't really like kisses. But thank you for enduring it. I appreciate it. It meant a lot to me. It was my first kiss. I'll always remember you, Capio, as my first kiss. So, if you don't want your Cambrian to explode, watch out for non-evolutionary forces. Oh, kitty pets, you get a lot of pets. You have a lot of pets on your chest, I bet. You want them because they're the best, and you are a kitty who needs a lot of pets. Okay, well, I think I am going to. Well, maybe I won't wrap it up right this second. I think what I'll do instead of wrapping it up right this second is something a little bit different. Before I wrap anything up, because once you wrap it up, you can't return it to the store anymore. So before I wrap anything up, what I will do is check to see what's going down in what some people call El Baseball Game. Or as the Spaniards say, El, uh, El Ayuda? No. What's play? Hugo? Huga? That's juice? I don't know. Jugador? Un game de baseball. That's how they say it in Spanish. Japanese, it's baseball. I got it wrong. Switch account. This one. There we go. Now I need to go to, yeah. You dirty rat. Okay, so I'm going to check to see the baseball game. It is the first game of the World Series is apparently over. It's already over. So, oh no, that might have been a commercial for upcoming news. Because it's currently a truck commercial. Also, Golden State's playing Sacramento. Personally, I'm rooting for Sacramento. Both of them are equidistant from us at about 3 hours in drive time. And we get both teams as our local teams, just as we get both the Giants and A's until the A's go to Vegas. And we also get the San Jose Sharks. We get the San Francisco 49ers. We get presumably Cal and Stanford. I think that's Pac 12 network ultimately. So they don't really have a television broadcast deal for their schools independently. They're not Notre Dame or anything like that. So, what we, you know, I kind of want to get the Pac 12 network for basketball season. I don't know. It's a tricky question, you know. I could, in theory, cancel YouTube TV and go get a worse streaming service that I don't like as much, but that has Pac 12 network. I could pay insanely for two streaming services just so I can get one channel on one of them. I could find some alternative means of getting Pac 12 network that I haven't figured out yet. I don't know. It's frustrating. Just stop being so lame, Pac 12 network. It's a fair critique. I guess you'd call it a command, really. And I do command it. I command it and demand it.
Field during the postseason. Check out the largest collection.
I command it and demand it of the Pac 12 network. So the game is still ongoing. It is game one. The Arizona Diamondbacks are playing against the Texas Rangers. The Arizona Diamondbacks, representing the National League, are leading by a score of 5-3 in the top of the seventh inning, which means they're playing at Texas. Arizona is the visiting team. Well, I guess the National League once again lost the All-Star game, like every single year. So Texas is the home team. And accordingly, Arizona's batting in the top of the inning. In this case, it's the top of the seventh, but they might want to might want to throw a challenge on this one because that looked really close. I don't know if that runner was out or safe. Let's find out. He's out. I think. Barely. Yeah, he's out. That angle doesn't help at all. But anyway, he's out. So they're not challenging it. And the pitcher, Mr. Bradford, or as they say in Japan, Bradford-san. Bradford-san is thrown 10 pitches so far. He must have thrown to the last batter, maybe more than one in the last inning, because he only threw like one pitch to that first guy. Well, second out for the Rangers reliever in the seventh. Nobody on base. So we'll see what happens here. You know, America's pastime is baseball. And I'd like to think that you and I together can enjoy it even a little bit more than I can enjoy it by myself. Because baseball affords me, the commentator, plenty of time to muse about things other than baseball in between pitches, in between bats, or in this case, during a pitching change. So despite getting both the first two batters of this top of the seventh inning out with no challenge whatsoever, just a few pitches, they decided to pull that reliever and replace him. Knowing the rules, that means he had to have faced a batter in the previous inning because you can't replace a pitcher before they faced at least three batters. It was a rule change a few years back, which was a good rule change because you don't want people like, oh, well, they've got left-handers. Hello from Australia, Ian Watts official. I'm glad you're not the unofficial Ian Watts. Because that unofficial Ian Watts, oof, he's a real piece of work. But the official one, I am all in favor of him. You're from Australia. I am also from Australia. I am currently living in Sydney. I was born in Melbourne. I spent part of my time in Queensland. And, then moved to Sydney. Like I said. Uh-oh. Autoplay. Don't copyright me, Ian Watts. Don't copyright me. Okay, don't get me in copyright trouble, Ian Watts. I accidentally played a little bit of your thing for a second. I didn't mean to. I just did it without my will. I have one of those on my channel too. Maybe I should not have an autoplay thing. I don't know. Mine says, hey, you, subscribe to my channel. That's what it should say. It doesn't say that. But the general message of it is maybe, I'm not saying for sure, but maybe you should subscribe to my channel. Because, it's so incredibly compelling. The nonstop chitter chatter, banter, the insight, the wisdom, the quips, the drama, the anger, the tears. Oh, it is a rich vein of life. You can suck your vampire teeth into, stick them in there, and just suck out the delicious, juicy blood. You're supping upon the blood of life itself. And that's the most tasty blood of all. So Arizona's still up leading 5-3, and they replaced that pitcher, and the first hitter hits it to the warning track, which gets caught for the out. That brings the top of the seventh to a close. Back to commercial we go. When we return, the top three of the Rangers batting order comes up to the plate, and so far, none of them have done well this evening. So that's worth noting. I'm rooting for Arizona because, in general, I root for National League teams. Dorothy Chischilly. Dorothy Chischilly. That's a mouthful. Dorothy Chischilly. Dorothy. You don't encounter a whole lot of Dorothys anymore. It's a good name. It elicits thoughts of doors. And a definite article in front of a word beginning with a vowel. The. It's a dog life. They write music is life. Music is life. I went to his channel already. I looked at his channel. For a second, but I left it quickly because I didn't want to get autoplay copyrighted. Probably that wouldn't happen, but you never know. I mean, it's not like this live stream is monetized. If I wanted to monetize it, which I probably should, I have to turn it on like every time. I usually forget. It's like not even on the first page of settings. I have to go to the second page and turn it on. I wonder how much that reduces people monetizing live streaming, just putting that setting on the next thing. It's push advanced settings and go there. It probably reduces monetization by like 50% or something just doing that. I mean, it reduces it more than 50% for me. now that I started live streaming on the phone, I almost never monetize the live streams. Which, since apparently people can't effectively employ ad blockers anymore, may be appreciated by some of the audience members, but also may mean that I'd actually make a little more money from it, and maybe I should do it, you know. So, like a lot of things in life that involve any kind of business logic or TE stuff, shit's always a compromise. Like, well, do I want to try to maximize revenue or make happy community members? Like to do both, but you can't maximize both those vectors. They're going to foul with each other. Ooh, look at that moon. It's so bright. I think that moon might be too bright. Hush, hush, turn off the light. You're too bright. See it? Hush, hush. There it is in between the trees. Don't creep over that way. Stay right there. Welcome to Eric's Delightful Mooncast. So it kind of looks like there's like trees underneath it. There's not. It's just between the trees. It's much too high above the trees or below it for them to be in frame. Those little dark things underneath it, they must be branches from the trees that it's between. Can't see it very clearly with the phone camera, but that's either full or 1 day from full. When it moves, as assuming it moves as it did last night, it will move over there. You're not going to be able to see anything at all. When it does move over there between those two big trees you can't see, then I might, if I'm still up, bust out the telescope and try to get some, try to make the camera capture if possible. I can't tell which way is this way. This way's this way. Okay, there we go. Now we're pointing towards me instead of away from me. I wonder if I stood in the moonlight if you could see me. Nope. It's funny, it seems so bright here in person, but it doesn't show up on the camera unless I'm pointing it at the moon. Like it doesn't illuminate anything light enough for you to see it. At least not me. Of course I am wearing a black jacket, black shirt. My skin is ebony. My hair is jet black. And I'm wearing a black ski mask. It's only my nose, which I inherited from Rudolph, that you can see glowing in the dark. there's this one super bright object in the sky that I wouldn't bother looking at tonight because of the full moon, but typically right around where the moon is on the horizon, uh, to the left of the moon. And I'm pretty sure it's this satellite I read about that astronomers are complaining about because supposedly it's the fifth brightest object in the sky and it interferes with some telescope stuff, But if in fact I'm right, and my guess is that's what that is, because it looks like hey, hey, hey. Who was chasing the cat? It sounded like a dog was chasing the cat. What it sounded like. Well, I guess I gotta go in and check on the cat. Sounds like she made it in the nick of time, but Jesus, someone was chasing her for had to be a dog, right? Except when I came around here, I didn't see anything. There was no dog to see or anything. I thought maybe it'd come in here, but it obviously hadn't. I don't see any blood spots or anything, so hopefully the dog didn't get her. It obviously isn't a neighbor's dog because I could hear that dog barking from some distance away. Let's see. Pretty sure I heard the cat go in here after. Oh, there she is. You okay, Capillo? She's breathing hard. You okay? Is that scary? Did a dog chase you? I don't think it chased Trouble. Let me go make sure that Trouble's in there. There's something chased Capillo. Yes, I think it was a dog, but I heard that sprinting down to spring and something just hurtled into the garage. But then I chased around after it. I couldn't see anything. Whatever it was, it disappeared. So, and Capillo's kind of spooked. That's okay, darling. Yeah, Trouble's in here too, so everything's fine. Both the cats made it alive inside. But that sounded like a dog. So, people go like, are you sure it's safe to let your cats outside around here? Well, in some ways, it's a lot safer than any place else because they're very unlikely to get hit by a car. But it's also the case that people do let their dogs kind of run around here, and most of them are cool with the cats, like that I've encountered. They seem to be uh, trained to not mess with cats, but hard to say what dog that was. It's hard to say for sure that it was a dog. It made kind of a growly dog sound, but it could have been, I don't know, a bobcat or something maybe. I'm not sure what they sound like. Could have been maybe a coyote. We heard what almost certainly was coyotes the other night, a lot of coyotes. And then last night I heard what sounded like people hooting sounds to call Sasquatch. Could have, of course, been Sasquatch, but it sounded like people making Sasquatch sounds. So anyway, the animals are all safely inside the house, and that's good. That was a little scary. I hate for Capio to get eaten, preyed upon. It's a possibility. It's whenever you have outside cats, unless you live in some sort of gated community that is ultra developed, you're probably going to run some risk of your cats encountering danger in the world, whether it's from cars or bobcats or dogs or whatever. So when you have cats and they're living right, then you have to come to terms with the fact that, they might one time be not on their toes enough and you just don't ever see the cat again. It's a possibility. So we'll see. So far, so good. We've been here about 9, 10 months now, and the cats seem to love it. I mean, well, they definitely love it. There's no seem to. Maybe they can't expressly tell me in words that they love it, but both the cats love it here. I don't mind Capia being chased inside this time of night because this is the time of night she normally goes out and catches mice. So hopefully she won't catch any mice today. All right, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. I appreciate everybody being here. It's nice chatting with you all. Have a very pleasant evening. I think I'm gonna probably find one more cartoon to watch, maybe two. I'll probably watch the rest of the baseball game and then call it a night. Go to bed, get a good night's sleep, wake up in the morning with a fresh perspective on things. So, in the meantime, I bid you the fondest and most warm adieu.